Welcome to my July wrap up. So this is going to be all of my stats for the month of July, as well as the 10 books that I read in the second half of the month. So I'm just going to dive straight into my stats. I had a pretty good reading month. I was happy with what I read. I have started to read a lot more longer books, so it is taking me a bit longer to finish books than normal because I'm reading ones that are longer, but yeah, overall had a really good reading month. And let's just dive straight into the stats. So as I say, I read 10 books in the second half of the month, and in total for the whole month of July I read 22 books. So broken down into genres, that was 8 contemporary, 2 small town romances, 1 sports romance, 2 mystery thrillers, 5 fantasy, 1 historical fiction, and 3 fiction books. I read 15 physical books, 6 audiobooks, and 1 ebook. And then in terms of ratings, I had 1 2-star, 7 3-stars, 3 3.5 stars, 9 4-stars, and 2 5-stars. And 9 of those books were new to me authors, so authors I've never read from before, and 13 were authors I have previously read from. In terms of page count, I read 4 that were less than 300 pages, 13 that were between 300 to 499 pages, and 5 books that were over 500 pages, so a lot more than usual in terms of in that 500 category. And I'm just going to dive straight into the books that I read for the second half of the month. So starting off with The Promised Queen by Kate Johnson. This one is I believe it's going to be a series, but I'm not sure of the name of the series, and I don't think that the author has announced like when or what the title of the next book, but I'm pretty sure it is going to be a series. So this one we follow Ember Hart, who is in her life, she kind of struggles, like she lives in kind of poverty, and she has to steal to get by, and she ends up stealing a necklace that ends up transporting her to another realm. And in this realm, she is viewed as being the promised one, the one that is going to save the realm. And the king of that realm has announced that she is going to be married off to his son, who is the prince, but his son is called a beast, and he is rumoured to be very brutal to people, and also is quite large, and just all around not a nice guy, not someone that she wants to be married off to. But she forms this alliance with the captain of the guard, and they end up working together to restore the magic to the realm, and they go on kind of this quest to find there's different things that they need to find, and they go on this quest to find them. I really enjoyed this one. I will say I won't obviously spoil anything, but there is a reveal that happens, which I'd already predicted earlier on in the book, but I had a good time reading this one. It is quite long, and in at moments in the book it did feel like it was a little too long, and I think some elements could have been cut down, but overall I did really enjoy this one. It was different to the author's previous books that she's written. The ones that she's written previously have been more cozy, witchy romances, whereas this is definitely has a bit more high stakes to it, and I had a good time reading this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this story continues in the next book whenever that comes out. I'm sure it's probably going to be at some point. I doubt we'll get it this year, put it that way. It'll probably be next year at the earliest. Then I read Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. This is the first book in the Love Light Farms series, and I liked this one and gave this one 4 stars. So this one follows Stella and Luca. And Stella runs a Christmas tree farm, and she enters into this competition that a influencer is hosting to kind of gain publicity for her farm. And when she's filling out the application form to enter the competition, she writes down that she runs the Christmas tree farm with her boyfriend Luca. However, this is not true, and Luca is not her boyfriend, but just a close friend. And so when they get picked to be one of the kind of nominations to win the competition, they have to end up fake dating to showed the influencer that they are in a relationship. So it is a friends to lovers fake dating romance, and I did have a good time reading this. I thought it was a good time. Obviously I read this as a Christmas romance, and there'll be a video coming out at some point. I'm not sure when in my schedule that'll be getting posted. But I did read a bunch of Christmas books for Christmas in July, and in terms of Christmas vibes, this I would say is very low on the scale, but I did have a good time reading this. The romance in here is really sweet. Obviously, because they are such close friends, their romance develops quite quickly because they already are quite close. I do love the friends to lovers trope, but this one is not my favourite from this author. I did like First Time Caller more, but I would recommend this one. I'm definitely excited to see the future books in this series. One of the characters that appears in here is going to be the main couple in the next book, in the second book, and I'm intrigued to check out their story. So definitely a series I do want to continue on with. Then I read Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors, and I really enjoyed this one and gave this one 5 stars. So this story is about the Blue Sisters, and there are 4 sisters. I'm just going to double check their names. So we have Avery, Bonnie, Lucky, and Nikki. And at the start of the book, we are made aware that Nikki has sadly passed away, and so we follow the 3 remaining Blue Sisters as they deal with their grief, how each of them copes, and kind of follow their lives and what they are doing, and how their the death of their sister and also their childhood kind of has influenced some of the life choices and things that they are doing. This one was a really good read. It's quite a heavy read. There are the characters are definitely struggling in different ways, and we see that throughout the book, and it's really a powerful read. If you have a sister, then you will understand the kind of sister relationship that you have, where you are really close, but there are moments where you are really not happy with one another and you fall out, but at the end of the day you are really close and have a really strong bond, and that really came through in this book. The sisters lived separate lives and lived in different parts of the world as well, but it really showed how they came together as well to kind of help each other with their grief. So really solid read. Would definitely recommend this one, but it is a slightly more emotional book. So just be warned going into it. Then I read Next Year in Havana by Chanel Cleeton. This is book 1 in the Cuba Saga series, which follows the Perez family. This is historical fiction, and in this one it's set in 2 time periods. I think all of the books in this series do that, where it's kind of seems to be set in 2 time periods. So we are in 1959... Sorry, no we're not. 1958 Havana and 2017 in Miami. And in 1958 we are following Elisa Perez, and it's around the time when the Cuban Revolution happened, when there was a lot of political unrest, and we see her kind of living her life and forming a relationship with someone who is very much involved in the kind of political movement, and we see that in the past. And then in present day we are following what was her name, Marisol, who is Elisa's granddaughter, and we are fast forward into 2017, and Elisa has sadly passed away, and Marisol has decided to go to Cuba. Obviously her family is from Cuba, but she has never been to Cuba, but she wants to go there to scatter her grandmother's ashes and learn a bit more about her family history. And while she's there, she meets Elisa's friend, who tells her a bit more about Elisa's life when she was a young girl, and Marisol also ends up having a romance as well. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a good, solid read. I do enjoy historical fiction. I will say I didn't know very much about the Cuban Revolution and the kind of political unrest that was happening in the 50s. So that was very interesting. Definitely different from other historical fiction, books that I have read. It focused on something a little bit different, so I did really enjoy that. And I have picked up the rest of the books in this series, so I will be reading those at some point. And I just want to shout out this beautiful cover. I really like the colours on this cover. I think it's really pretty. Then I read Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey, and I enjoyed this one and gave this one 4 stars. This one is on the shorter side, but it was still a fun read. This one we are following their names I can't remember. Let me just Aiden and what was her name? Stella. Aiden and Stella, and Stella has had a bit of a difficult life. She actually got arrested for armed robbery. She and her friend at the time, when they were younger, kind of roped her into robbing this restaurant, and she didn't realise that the gun that her friend had bought was like a real gun, and that it was loaded, and someone in the restaurant ends up getting shot, and she gets arrested as a kind of accomplice in the armed robbery, and she spends a number of years in jail. And she has just got out of jail and is starting to kind of rebuild her life. And Aiden is a manager at a department store. His family owns the department store, and he has just worked on the window display for the department store for their Christmas their Christmas window display, and he sees Stella looking at the windows display and kind of approaches her and asks her opinion on it, because he can tell from her facial expression that she has some kind of strong opinions about the window display. And he asks her what she would do differently with the window display, and she kind of gives her opinion about it and kind of says like what she would do differently. And he tells her to apply for this job opening that they have at the department store to dress the windows. And she applies, not really thinking that she's going to get anywhere with it because of her criminal record, but Aiden decides to take a chance on her. He sees something in her, and there's kind of like a instant connection between the two, and it ends up being their romance. And I really enjoyed this one. Aiden is very much a golden retriever hero. He loves Christmas. He's very bubbly and happy, and Stella is a bit more grumpy. And I really liked seeing the relationship develop in here. This one was a lot of fun. Tessa Bailey's books can be a little bit hit or miss for me, but this one I had a really good time reading it. And if you're looking for a Christmas read, then this one was a really solid one, and one that I would definitely recommend. Then I read The Antisocial Season by Adele Buck. This is book 2 in the First Responders series. The first book is called The Fake Flame, I believe. And this one follows Thea and Simon. Thea has been working as a firefighter for the past 10 years, but she has decided that she no longer wants to pursue that career. So she hands in her notice, and her boss, while she's handing in her notice, her boss suggests that she might be a good candidate for the social media position, running the social media pages for the emergency service department. And she has done, I think she studied marketing at college, so she does have some kind of like some knowledge of social media and how to run it, and obviously she has the practical knowledge from her firefighting job, but the department decide that she needs a bit more social media training, so she ends up going to work with Simon, who works in the local library and runs their social media pages. And he is he's a librarian. I can't remember what his job title is, but he's like a librarian and social media like coordinator, and he obviously knows about social media, so he is supposed to kind of show her the ropes on how to manage social media pages. And it is their romance, and they knew each other in high school, and Simon had a big crush on her at the time, but she initially doesn't quite remember him from school. I liked this one, but it definitely isn't my favourite romance. There was something, I don't know, there was something lacking in this. This is marketed on the back of the book, where the Afterglow lists the tropes as a workplace romance and a festive romance. And I wouldn't say this is the most festive read ever. It does take place. I think, I'm not sure when the book starts, but there is mentions of Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I think probably it starts around maybe like August, September, and then it goes through those later few months of the year. But it's not really Christmassy, and obviously the two characters are working together, but it's not really a workplace romance per se. There's no kind of like forbidden aspect to it, because they're not, although they are kind of working together, Simon is teaching her, they don't work in the same department, so there's not that kind of forbidden aspect that you would normally see in a workplace romance. It also says it's spicy on the back, and I know spicy, obviously people's definitions of spicy vary, but I would not say that this was a spicy book in the slightest. There was one or two scenes, but they weren't like super spicy in my opinion. But overall, I thought this romance was okay, but definitely not a favourite, and this is not a book that I'm going to be holding on to in my collection. Then I listened to Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is the first book in the War of Lost Hearts. I think it's a trilogy. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I didn't love this one. I have obviously read the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and I've mentioned how much I really enjoyed those. This was her series that she wrote prior to the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and then the Crowns of Nyaxia series really kind of blew her up and kind of shot her into kind of mainstream publishing, and the Crowns of Nyaxia series is what got her like traditionally publishing deal. This series is also going to be re-released, traditionally published later this year. I think they're coming out, but as I say, I didn't love this one as much as the Crowns of Nyaxia series. So we are following Tizana, who at the beginning of the book we see her as a child, where she is sent away by her mother when her home is kind of invaded. So her mother kind of sends her away, and she ends up becoming this man basically owns her like a slave, and she has to do things that maybe she doesn't want to be doing, and she is working to kind of buy her freedom, and she has told the guy that is what she wants to do. She wants to buy her freedom, and when she finally gets enough money to buy her freedom, he basically says no, and some things happen, and he ends up getting killed. I won't go into too much details, but she ends up having to kind of run away, and she finds this group of people called the Orders, who are a powerful group of people that have magic, and she wants to join this group, and the only way to do this is to become an apprentice, and she gets assigned to Max Antarius, who really doesn't want an apprentice, and is definitely very grumpy towards Tizana at the beginning, and secrets kind of unfurl, and there's a war going on, and Tizana's kind of uncovering things about her world. I didn't love this one. I found that firstly it was really long. and it felt long when I was listening to it. I can't remember how many hours the audiobook is, just over 15 hours, but it felt like a lot longer. It's definitely a slow burn romance between Tizana and Max Antarius. And yeah, I wasn't blown away by this one. I know a lot of people really like this series, but for me, compared to the Grounds of Nyaxia series, I didn't enjoy it as much. Then I finished reading The Way I Hate Him by Megan Quinn, which is book 1 in the Almond Bay series. This one I gave 4 stars to. This one is available on Kindle Unlimited, and I read it on my Kindle. I actually started this one like months and months ago, and I got quite far into it, and then I've obviously been reading other things. I've had library books and things, and it kind of got pushed to one side. But I finally finished it in July, and I did really enjoy it. I really enjoy Megan Quinn's writing. I think she is a really good contemporary romance author. She writes quite humorous books. Some of her books have quite good humour in. I know some people don't like her humour, but it works for me. And in this one we are following, I can't remember what her name is. I was just having a quick look, see if I could see what her name is. Can't remember her name, but she has been away at college, and she moves back to town following the death of her sister. And this is a family of 4, well, obviously the sister that's passed away, there's like 3 siblings left, so there were 4 siblings, but there's 3 siblings left, and she moves back to town following the death of her sister. She needs to take some time away from college because she is grieving, and when she is back home she runs into Hayes, and I remember his name, who is who was friends with her brother, but they had a falling out, so they are not friends anymore, and he is an extremely grumpy guy, and it is their relationship. She, at the start of the book, our main character is in a relationship, but they end up breaking up quite early on, and there's quite a big age gap between the 2 characters as well, and that kind of comes up as a conversation point between the 2. But I had a good time reading this one. The romance was really solid in here. I really like the side characters. I'm definitely intrigued to check out the other books in the series, because each sibling is going to have their own book, and I really like the small town of Almond Bay. I think Megan Quinn writes really good small town romances. The first series I ever read from her was a small town romance series. I can't remember what the series was called actually, but I'll put it on screen which one it was. But yeah, the only complaint I would have about her books is sometimes they are too long. Like this one was over 500 pages, which for a contemporary romance is a little bit too long in my opinion. I think it could be cut down, and if it was maybe shorter I might have enjoyed it more, but overall it was a good read and I would definitely recommend it. Then I read The Wind Weaver by Julie Johnson, which is book 1 in the Reign of the Remnant series, and I really enjoyed this one, and I gave this one 5 stars, and I cannot wait for the second book. The second book's cover has just been announced, and it is really pretty. The first book's cover was pretty as well, but the second one is also really good. So in this one we follow Rhea, I think is her name, or Raya, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, but I'll put the spelling on screen, and she is a half fae, half human, and in this world the halflings are executed, and so the book starts where she has been captured, and she is kind of tied up to, I think it was like a stake, like they were going to like burn her at the stake type thing, like they do with witches, and she's already prepared to kind of die. She's kind of accepted her fate, but she is rescued by this Commander Scythe, is the name he's going under, and he is rescued, and Rhea, or Raya, I'm not sure, I'll say Rhea because I think that's how I'm going to pronounce it, is rescued by him, and she is not sure why, and he doesn't really explain to her why he has decided to save her, but they go on this journey together through the realm. He's taking her to somewhere which he doesn't tell her where he's taking her, and we get to see them kind of banter between each other as they kind of journey through this world, and some information comes to light about who she is and what powers she has, and I really like this one. I like the romance developing between the two characters when we find out who Commander Scythe is. There is also a side character who I really liked, and I wonder if they are going to play more of a role in the second book. But yeah, overall, a really good book, a really good start to the series, and one that I cannot wait to continue on with. I would definitely recommend picking that up if you haven't already. And then the last book I read in July was Hidden Nature by Nora Roberts, and I gave this one 3 stars. So this one, there was a lot going on in this one, and I didn't necessarily love it. So our main character works as a police officer, and at the beginning of the book she gets shot, and we spent a lot of time following her recovery after her injuries, and because of her injuries she has to move back home with her parents, and she enjoys being back in the small town where she grew up, and she decides to move there permanently, and as I say, we see a lot of her kind of recovery journey. That takes up a large portion of the book. And then we are introduced to 2 other characters, their perspectives kind of get interspersed throughout the book, who are these people who have a dislike of people that have been brought back to life by kind of medical intervention. So like people who've been resuscitated, and they view it as that they are living a stolen life, living a life that they shouldn't have, and they kind of go out and find these people and make them, before they kill them, they make these people kind of relive what they saw whilst they were before they got brought back to life, what they saw whilst they were dead, and they take the blood from these people and use it in their cooking and drink it because they think it has some sort of special properties. So we get that interspersed, and then there is a love interest that is introduced as well, and we get his perspective as well. He is worked as a big financial firm in New York, and he has decided to move to a small town because he wants like a quieter life. And throughout the whole book, obviously we know our main character was brought back to life by medical intervention, which I forgot to mention that she does technically die at the beginning of the book, but she gets brought back by medical intervention. So we know that these people are going to go after her at some point, and they eventually do go after her, but that happens like very much in the last few chapters, and throughout the book it's like building up because you know that eventually they're going to go after her, and then it's over so quickly. Like there's this massive build up to them going after her, and then they go after her, obviously fail, and then the book's over. And yeah, I didn't necessarily love this one, definitely not my favourite from Nora Roberts. Premise wise it was really interesting, and I like the idea of it, but execution, I don't know, I was expecting a little bit more. The romance also was okay, but again, nothing special, so that's why I gave this one 3 stars. So they are all of the books that I read in July. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what your favourite book was from July, and I will see you guys in my next one.